What is up? What is up, everybody? It's me and Snark. And no, it's not an entertainment news break, but it does have to deal with entertainment because this is the very first part of our journey to the road of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, if I'm not mistaken, the fifth
That's right.
installment coming out for the Indiana Jones series. Even though some people don't like to count the fourth one very much, and it looks like I think we've talked about this on the entertainment news break that the Indiana Jones this new one, Dial of Destiny's got some mixed reviews going out there. So we'll have to see for ourselves and everything else because not every time uh, do us as fans line up with, say, the critics because it's the critics that are coming out. They were able to see it at like the Cannes Film Festival, I think it was called,
Sure.
but they were able to get an early screening and they were able to review it. They actually let them review it and they went on Rotten Tomatoes and did their reviews and it doesn't look super promising. But like I said, we can't get ourselves down from some critics because sometimes they get it wrong, and we love it anyway. So here it is, baby. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, kind of like a retro review, man. Going back, watching the old school film, the film that started it all. And we're just going to talk about it, man. We're just going to talk about like some of our favorite moments and things about the movie and stuff that we saw when we watched it and everything else. So let's get it started, man. Snark, Indiana Jones, and the Lost Ark, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. How did you like it?
Well, of course, I absolutely love. I've loved it since the moment I went to see it. I was 7 years old. I remember bugging my dad to go see it. Like I really wanted to go see it the opening weekend. I don't think I got to see it till the next one because I kept bugging my dad like we gotta go, we gotta go. Like all my kids said, all the kids on my grade had already seen it, so it's like we gotta go see this. And uh, yeah, it was perfect then and it holds up. It's still perfect now.
The
I
only
love it.
thing I would say, because you said the hold up, and one of the things that I noticed when I watched this movie is the difference between back then and now with CGI. Like,
Yeah.
I almost wish they would do like a remastered version where they go in and like do some of the special effects or whatever, especially like with the arc at the end of the movie film and stuff like that. Like some of
Hmm.
that stuff, like if you watch it now. So like let's be honest here. So like let's say you're a younger guy. You're not like us, you know what I'm saying? That we saw movies from back in the day and man, and we've got to see the CGI kind of like expand throughout the years to what it is now, which is just
Hmm.
amazing. Sometimes you can't even tell something's fake. It looks so real. Uh, so if you're a younger person and you go watch this movie, you're going to watch this movie for the story, for the action, all that kind of stuff, right? For the stunt man doing the thing, because we all know Harrison Ford didn't do all those things.
How dare you?
But but with that being said, yeah, you kind of do have to put like and realize when this film was done, when this film was put out, and everything else, and kind of like ignore the fact that all right, cool, the CGI. That was the one thing that the story, the characters, the fight scenes, the action sequences, the way this movie's put together, I agree with you 100%. Withstands the test of time. Only thing that doesn't is some of the CGI work.
There's an episode of South Park where George Lucas and Steven Spielberg decide to do a new version of Raiders of the Lost Ark, i.e., like what George Lucas did to the Star Wars original
Right.
trilogy. And so yeah, you can watch that in reference to how you may not always get what you want or whatever, and sometimes it's not best. But I watched it just upscaled, like I watched it in 4K or whatever it is, like for the first time, and yeah. I long for the days of even like of watching it on VHS. It just looks better as that old thing, like that very first scene or whatever you see. It's that old school Paramount Pictures or whatever thing or whatever has that mountain and stuff like that just painted in. So you know the this is supposed to look like it's from the 1930s, 1940s and stuff like that. The aesthetic, I think it just doesn't feel the same watching it in 4K as you did when you watched it like originally in the theaters or on VHS growing up or whatever you had. Even DVD makes it still kind of look a little more homey. Like the 4K transfer and stuff like that looks great, and there's parts that look fantastic. It's just, is this how it's supposed to look? Not really. You're supposed to, you're supposed like it's made up of. It's supposed to be like, well, originally they wanted to be like you were saying, you wanted an American kind of James Bond. Well, that's what they were originally thinking about trying to do, because George Lucas wanted to do a James Bond movie at some point. Well, we can do this instead. But they also took that love of serials that they all watched when they were kids, and that's how you got Star Wars. That's how you got Indiana Jones. It's supposed to feel like an old 40s style adventure serial, and you get it. It's still there with the 4K. Like the story is still the same. Everything is still the same. And by the way, I love the effects at the end. I still do. That when the one spirit comes out with the lady's face and turns
No,
into a
now,
ghost, you're
not
still
now.
whoa.
When I say what I say, I'm not saying that all of it was bad. Some of it was actually still like good. Like and if you put it in like perspective of like when this was done and stuff, man, dude, like the melting of the faces and everything else, like how the hell did they do that back then, right? They didn't have like all these computer things like we have and everything
They
else. So
just
like a lot of this stuff was practical effects.
They just took a couple of unfortunate souls and melted them. That's how they did it. It's the only way they could do it.
Yeah, they just
Practical.
melted real people on the
Yeah,
scene.
it's like, yeah.
Thank you for your sacrifice, sir.
One of the deep dark secrets of Raiders of the Lost Ark. They just murdered people. That's why they
Yeah.
did it on a faraway country. It's like there's no laws here. You can do whatever you want.
But
It's
nah,
not like those
man,
people were good people or anything. They probably did something bad at some point. Just melted them.
the sets here were all like super good, super
Oh
cool.
yeah.
The opening sequence of Indiana Jones, like this is some of the stuff that like compared to some of the stuff today that I have to give these some of these older movies like super good props on storytelling. You don't have to unload a lot of baggage. You can just show us. It opens up, Indiana Jones is like coming up on a crest and everything else, and you get it from behind and you see like what he's wearing. So at the very beginning, like, okay, this is some adventure guys. He looks like this like adventurous archaeologist or whatever, right? Like from the very beginning, they don't have to explain all that. You know, they they make their way into this cave to like get this relic or and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And just the opening scene of them going through the thing, you see the dangers, uh, but of the what do you want to call it? The great big huge rock chase is one of the most like remembered,
It's
thought
iconic.
about movie scenes in like almost any movie, but especially in like a style of like, what do you want to call it? Like a caper style movie, like where
Mm-hmm.
someone's trying to go in there and steal or rock, like any of these adventure style kind of films. That scene itself is iconic. Everybody remembers the great big ball of rock, like chasing Indiana Jones as he's like running through all these things and trying to escape and everything else. And just the way they set up a story, it's just, man, sometimes it's just so much better back then. Like, I just love a lot of things about this old school film. And one of them is like, I got it on my tagline right here. Like, you hate snakes too. But I have women can be strong in a dress, man, because I love the fact that this woman, she's like, that to get introduced into the story is like, she's a strong female character, strong woman out there doing her thing. And some of the parts of the movie, she's having to do it in a dress, and it's not the most comfortable thing. But then that makes like her character even like more badass to me, that she's having to do this and like not wearing the adventure gear and stuff like that, like Indiana Jones is wearing. And she's having to do whatever she can to survive, like in this whole setting of these Nazis trying to get the Ark of the Covenant. And it's just, man, and this the way they do things, right? It's like you don't have to make one character look bad or worse to uplift another character like you see do in more of these recent movies and stuff like that. Like Indiana Jones is a strong character, but you could argue in a lot of ways that the female character, and I can't remember her name right off the top of my head,
How dare you?
but the female character in Indiana Jones is like a super strong character as well. You could almost say she's as strong or stronger at points, but it's not done in a way that tries to like bring down the other character. This it's about lifting both of these characters up in their own kind of way. They both have their own personalities and everything else. It just kind of works together. The chemistry they had in this movie, just really good things that were going on in this film that, like, I think you are missing a lot in like some of these newer films that are coming out. I just love the way they put up the story and just told the story, right? Yeah, of course, everything can't be the adventure, but like they had their downtime here and there, but it seemed like they picked the right moments to do that. It didn't drag on too long because then something else was happening. Just the You didn't just even have the Nazis as like being the bad guys by themselves. There were all these like intricate little woven in parts. You got the guy that at the very beginning of the film, after Indiana Jones worked this relic, it basically just gets stole from him at the end. So and that, like I said, there wasn't a lot of like, oh, we got to set this guy's character up. You knew what that guy was whenever he stole the relic from Indiana Jones. You knew he was probably going to show back up. You knew he's going to be doing his things, man. It was just chef's kiss to the layout of the film, the way it's done. Like I said, you hit the nose on the head. Maybe you can take the CGI out and whatnot, and maybe that doesn't stand the test of time because of how good CGI and computer stuff is today. But story wise, how to tell a story will stand up probably for the rest of time. This is a great story, a fun movie.
First of all, how dare you forget Marion Ravenwood's name? And
Marion, yeah. As soon as you said it too, it's like popped right back in my head, Marion,
so
because he says it all the time. He's like screaming her name out during that
yeah,
one scene where like he thinks he like blows her up in the truck, which is also another cool thing to do.
yes, yeah. Rewatching it, I hadn't watched this movie in years and years and years. But rewatching it, uh, I don't want to say I was surprised, but I'm so happy that I just seem to enjoy Marion so much more than I did when I was a little kid. I think she was friggin' kick ass. Like out drink. The first time you see her in the entire movie, she's out drinking a guy 3 times her size, and I can always respect that. But yeah, She's not the typical damsel in distress. She's a fighter. Uh, Essential to the story. Uh, Karen Allen was terrific playing her. Uh, she pops up again in a later movie, and you know, she's not quite the same as she was in this one, but she was absolutely incredible. We didn't say like that. Let's go back to that opening scene with the boulder. And again, incredibly iconic scene, and it has been referenced and spoofed in so many things. Like there was an episode of The Simpsons earlier on where Bart grabs money out of Homer's wallet. He chases him. He falls down the stairs, and Homer's the boulder. And then he uses a scarf to whip himself onto the bus. So there's that, and there's Troy and Abed have a paper mache thing about it and stuff like that in their apartment and community. One thing that isn't really noticed, Alfred Molina was the guy that brought him over into the cave or whatever. He was the one guy that actually lived, bringing him over to the cave. Lived for a bit. I guess that was his first credited role, Alfred Molina. It's like when I saw him there, I was like, "Oh shit, I know that guy." So I had to look at whatever. They say it's his first credited role, but it looks like he had shown a sitcom about a wrestler or something like that before that, maybe. So it doesn't count. If it's not on the big screen, it doesn't count. We all know that. But but that opening thing just shows you who Indy is. You know what you're going to be in for. You're going to be you're like before you even hear him talk, he uses his bullwhip, right? So you're in for an adventure. Yeah, and the times back forward, he's going to get in trouble at times. He's going to use his surroundings. The bullwhip's going to come into play. He's smart, but also the quick wit and stuff like that is there. So you can see lots of similarities in that cold open that you can see in, say, like a James Bond cold open. I think that was very much on purpose. And then the next mellow out thing, he gets off there. And here's another thing: Harrison Ford's enemies are the worst shots ever. Like, you go to Star Wars, and Stormtroopers famous for how they can't hit the side of a barn, right? Well, these guys come up with the names to their whatever, come up with
Hold
Belloc.
on.
Sure.
I want to defend
Oh my God.
the stormtroopers out there.
Oh brother.
Listen, I don't care who you are. You could be the best marksman walking the planet. But
Yeah.
when you're shooting something that has plot armor, like Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah,
you're going to miss
Yeah, that's true.
because you
It's just
can't do
physics.
nothing.
That's physics.
You can't do nothing to plot armor. You can't do it. Like there's nothing. Like, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm okay with people missing or whatever, right? Like just not hitting the target. Indiana Jones is moving around, so it's not like it's the easiest thing to hit or whatever. But man, I'm getting tired of like seeing movies where people do get hit or they get shot so close that they throw a tuxedo like thing in front of their face. You see that crap in like John Wick, bro? He's just running around throwing like his like tuxedo jacket or overcoat or whatever over his face because it's bulletproof.
Nice.
Bruh, that shit ain't working, son. It would have knocked the fabric back and he still hit him in the face. All right,
Unbelievable.
so let's get real.
Unbelievable.
But I'm going to be honest with you though. I love the setups for some of the stuff. Indiana Jones runs away from the boulder. He gets away. He's running from all those guys, looking like he's in the movie Platoon. He's running away from all these dudes with these arrows and stuff trying to get him. And he like jumps on the plane and he gets on there and he there's a snake in his lap and he's yelling at a home dude, his friend that was flying the plane, like I hate snakes and everything else. And it's like a funny kind of moment, but it comes back where when he's trying to get the Ark, there's all these snakes, like not just one snake, but a bunch of damn snakes, right? Like so it sets it up, right? It sets it up in a cool way. Same thing with Marion, right? Like earlier in the film, like you said, she's out drinking this dude. It's like way bigger than her and all this stuff because like she's running like a bar and establishment and everything else.
In Nepal.
And then later in the movie, she uses that to try to get an advantage to be able to escape, and she almost does because she like sitting there drinking, with home dude that really likes her, Indiana Jones's arch nemesis over there, and she almost pulls it off. She almost gets away scot-free basically from the whole situation because he gets super drunk and she's acting like she's drunk because he's like, oh, there ain't no way she can drink more than I can. And she's over there like just taking them down, man, taking them down. And she's still okay. She's still perfectly fine. But it set that up, man. It's like old school ways to tell a story and set something up. Don't beat you in the face with it. Have a little short scene and then move on to something else that sets up, right? Like now, because they did that little setup, when she does the escape plan of out drinking, they don't have to explain it. It's perfect sense. We saw in the movie, she can out drink, people like 3 or 4 times.
Got a liver this big.
Exactly. So she can do that, and they point that out, but they don't beat you over the face with it, man. I think that's like really good setups in the film, all this kind of stuff. Like I said, with the arch nemesis, bringing him in, well, you got the Nazis, which are like they're bad guys, and then you got this guy that's kind of like a rivalry to Indiana Jones. He does all these things Indiana Jones wants to do, but he does it for money, whereas Indiana Jones wants to put it like in a museum or whatever, put it where it needs to be.
Yeah.
He doesn't really do it for the money. And the setup with Indiana Jones being smart, that it ain't just this dude, because you got to remember back when this movie was coming out, there was all these action movies with like the different like action stars of the time, like Arnold and Stallone,
Chuck Norris,
and everything else, right? Like where they were always these big dudes, like just going around shooting everybody. They sounded stupid and probably were stupid in a lot of ways the film and everything else. But like Indiana Jones, for instance, like it was this really cool, like different, like, okay, this guy's a good adventurer. He can think on his feet, like, and he can do things and he can get out of sticky situations. But you know what? He's not just going to beat up the bad guy. Like they're going to beat him up some. He's got to take the punches and roll with it. Like, and he's a very smart guy. He's a professor at a school, like teaching things. So like, he's very smart. He can be articulate. Like he can be the witty guy, like you're saying. And it makes perfect sense. But all they did was a small scene at the beginning after the main opening where he's teaching at a school.
Yep.
Right, he's teaching his class before the guy comes in and tells him about this adventure that he may have to go on.
His
Simple
alter
setup
ego.
that means a lot, and it didn't take a lot of time out of the film, didn't take a lot of time out of the action. It was perfect and just done so well. And like I said, it was a contrast to what we were getting around the time,
Oh,
with movies like just anything like so the Stallone did back in the days, Arnold with his like just any
well,
just pick any of the movies
the Arnold movies were coming.
like
But
Commando.
right, yeah, those were coming. And then Conan, I think, comes out the year after this and stuff like that. So, yeah, those are all coming and stuff like that. I think a lot of them were predicated on the success of this. It's like we can do this again, guys. We can have this kind of franchise where it's just adventure, it's shooting, and blah 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 blah. For the most part, it's just good fun. A couple of supernatural things, a couple of few swear words in this movie I never remembered when I was a kid. So,
It was
yeah,
also a lot more bloody than I remember, to be honest with you.
There's
You
quite a
don't
bit
think about Indiana Jones and like these blood, but like even the first cave scene, there's like a dude that's like dead, that's rotted in the thing, and then the guy that you said that tried to
Alfred
screw Indiana
Molina
over, and Alfred Molina got his ass taken care of, and he's all bloodied up and stuff, where he got poked with spikes.
The other guy with all the darts in his back, and they push him down.
During the film, like the shots that happen with people in their head, shoots them in the head and stuff, and like you see the like blood come out and everything else. Like there's a lot of
one
blood.
Guy gets chopped up with a propeller. You don't see it. You just see the blood.
You don't see it. I kind of wanted
over
to, man.
I kind of wanted to. Holy Hannah. Oh my goodness.
I kind of wanted to see it, but I'm a big horror fan. I'm a big, huge horror fan, so I like that kind of stuff.
That's true. You're also a big Star Wars fan. Did you recognize who one of the people was that was part of Army intelligence, the ones that brought him the stuff or whatever, saying like we'd like you to chase after what the Nazis are chasing after here?
I wasn't like trying to pay attention or catch any of that, but who is it? Go ahead, let me know.
Porkins.
Old Porkins, baby.
Old Porkins.
Hell yeah, baby. The real hero of the galaxy, man. He sacrificed himself for the galaxy.
I think he was the first one. I think wasn't he the first pilot that got blown up or something? I just remember loosen up or something like that.
He was in the Death Star, the first Death Star run. He got taken out, but like without his sacrifice, they don't even get the job done. So thank you, Porkins.
Yeah.
But nah, man, I will say this, talking about Star Wars is the music. There were times where I got hints of Star Wars feel
100%
music.
Yep, like 100%.
Maybe not the Indiana Jones pure theme, but like when things were slowed down and they had the slower style feel of the music, I was like, I was thinking, is this like Princess Leia's theme? Or
exactly, I was about to say the same thing. When he thinks she's blown up and he's having drinks by himself, that da, 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 da. It's like, yeah, I think that's Princess Leia's theme, isn't it?
Yeah, it sounded like it, man. So like that's
what you get.
Something.
Like he's recording this one, not long after he did Star Wars and stuff like that. So, it could have still been in his brain. It's like, maybe I could borrow a little bit.
It's similar. I'm pretty sure it's different, but
hey,
I'm pretty sure it's different. But even if it's the same damn track, it don't matter. It's John Williams. He can do what he wants to with his music. So he can put it wherever he wants to. So Big Daddy John Williams did this music, did Star Wars, did Jaws, all this stuff. Most of your first Superman like theme that people like know even today.
Don't forget Superman.
So the music's great in this, the direction's great in this, the way that you tell a story is great in this. Harrison Ford shows out
sound
this kind of character.
The sound of the punches in this movie are amazing. They're amazing. I think the guys that I'm pretty sure that the guys that did the sound effects got a special Oscar for achievement.
Possibly, man, because I'm going to tell you, when there's like rocks and rubble and stuff like that falling around, it sounds great, but I know those rocks and rubble are styrofoam. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, fiberglass. The boulders.
Yeah, basically, like there ain't none of this shit like real stone, but the way they make it sound and tried to make it look, and everything else, like specifically thinking of one scene, where Indiana Jones are trapped in there with the snakes and they close the hole up because they're like, we got you, Indiana. You'll be down there forever kind of thing. Now you're trapped in there. And he like gets up on the top of that statue and like rocks back and forth and gets it to fall into the wall to bust a hole. And then the rocks are like part of the wall, like falling down, bruh. It's like, it sounds great, but the whole time I'm like, whoa, dog. this ain't doing that good, man. The way it settles, you can
What?
tell it's not real rock the way the things were hitting each other and settling down.
No. What funny thing about that? So he has a team of guys going overnight, and he knows the spot. He goes to the Well of Souls. He puts the staff down and shows them. Great. He says, "Oh, they're digging in the wrong spot." So he gets all the guys. It's like, well, we're gonna dig here. We got to build it up and stuff like that. He gets in, gets the stuff. Here comes the Nazis. He's trapped. He throws Marion in. Blah blah blah. We're talking. Snakes are coming. He knocks down the one great big huge statue of the dog god there and knocks a hole in the wall, and they escape over to the hole in the wall. They see, like, oh, there's a light. We can push that over. They push those thing over, and it goes directly to the Nazi airfield, where the outside of the tunnel or the outside of the tomb or whatever is just exposed with hieroglyphs and stuff like that. Why did the Nazis ever check in that tomb? They checked everywhere else, and they were parked right beside it.
Yeah, and also the rock that he pushes out to get the opening to come out where it's like, bro, that rock's so damn big, there ain't no way in hell you pushing that
thousands of pounds.
Yeah, there's no way in hell you pushing that over.
Well, he's a strong man.
Almost when he pushes that rock through that hole to like get that opening so that they can escape. I'm over here thinking like this is more of a miracle than the pyramids being built.
Wow.
Like that, I mean, that's truly like there's no way you pushing that big ass stone out the way like that. He don't have the force. He never even had it in Star Wars.
Yeah, he would have to be stepping on his tiptoes to do it too. So he's like,
yeah, exactly. Like you're not even like flat-footed. Don't even have leverage or whatever.
Listen, who's the professor around there? Us or him? He's probably got some kind of mathematics thing about
whatever,
it. I'm
not. Get out of here with that bull crap, man. You know, it is what it is. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
We can laugh and have fun with some of the things. Yeah. But we can laugh and have some of the fun with the things that were kind of a little bit goofy. But nah, overall, man, this movie right here is just fantastic, man. It's like I said,
the whole way through.
I think the problem with today is just keep the basics of storytelling. Like, stop trying to be too fancy. Stop trying to push even agendas or whatever, right? Like, stop trying to like. It's just too much of this, like. We're going to bring one character down to bring one character up kind of things. Like I said, they elevated both the main characters in this, Indiana Jones and Marion. They both had their strengths and their weaknesses, you know, and they didn't have to make one look dumb, you know, to make the other one look great. And this is how you do it. It's like I said, women can be strong in a dress, man. And this movie proves that. And you don't have to like have the women look like they're ultra commandos, you know, from like you know, the Navy SEALs or something like that for them to be a badass. You know what I'm saying? They can actually, you can still be a woman and be a badass, and this type of movie proves it. Like I said, that's the biggest takeaway that I took from this film when I rewatched it. I'm like you. When I watched it when I was younger, you know, whatever. I'm a young kid, I'm a young boy, but like rewatching it, like I really had an appreciation for the co-actress here. I really had appreciation for the Marion character because a lot of times in like these movies nowadays, it's like, oh wait, this person's going to be super dumb so that we can make this character look like, oh yeah, the greatest thing in the world. And it's just, to me, it's just starting to be like, bro, like stop doing that every time. You don't have to do that. I really think Across the Spider-Verse, the new Spider-Man movie, I was lucky enough to go able to see so far this weekend. I'm going to take my son. I'm going to watch it twice because I'm going to take my son once too. But like the same thing in that story, you have let's stop having this struggle. It doesn't matter if the character's male or if the character's female. And everything else. Let's put these people in there together and you can tell a story with both things and not make the other one look like crap. Like, I just don't understand why people's got to do that sometimes.
Just lazy storytelling. I think that's it. Yeah, everyone could be a hero. Ravenwood, like Marion Ravenwood, yeah, is like when you think about it, when she's saying that she and Indy were together before, and that it was 10 years since he met. And I was like, one thing I kept thinking is, how old is she supposed to be because she didn't look like she was like 30 something years old in the movie. So I was like, oh my goodness, that could be troubling. But something that she says once or whatever, and it's never addressed again. But I also thought it was funny just from that scene where he hasn't seen her, she hasn't seen him in 10 years after he dumps her or whatever. And one of the first things he says is, "Trust me." It's like, what? So whatever. Uh, what I'm gonna ask you a question. You're a big Star Wars guy, and I know that the dark side is strong with you, obviously.
Mm.
Have you ever thought of an idea of having an evil archaeologist around?
I mean, I think you kind of had one in this film,
Yeah.
right? But like, I don't think it would have been cool to me if this guy would have survived, right?
Oh, did he
If
ever
this
go though?
guy would have went on and this guy would have been, say, like the dark side of Indiana Jones, basically, like where he, like you said, he wanted the money, but I would have wanted to have if you did that, I would have wanted to have a guy who's equal to Indiana Jones in skill,
Right.
right? And not just this guy's got a lot of money and can throw money everywhere like the character in this movie was, right?
Well,
Which is
even
fine
then,
for this film, fine for this movie, and fine, especially because he dies in the end. Like he's one of
oh,
the
does he ever?
he's one of the face metal. He gets his face
He,
melted.
he actually, his head
Oh, yo,
actually
his head actually
explodes.
explodes. Yeah, his head actually
They had
explodes.
to they had to throw fire in front of that scene. I guess it was so graphic. I guess they went after kind of like a Scanners kind of vibe. It was so graphic that they had to throw fire in front of it just so they didn't get an R rating. This is
Right,
going to be
but
a
like,
rated R movie just for that scene.
yeah, it was done well. But and I'm fine with what they ended up doing. But I always thought it was kind of like deep down, like it would have kind of been cool if we would have had that evil archaeologist, right? And it was kind of like
Yeah.
this thing where they had back and forth, and maybe that guy's good enough to also get away in a sticky situation. But Indiana Jones came up on top, and then in the next film, Indiana Jones is going after something else, and you got this bad guy. And you could also, but I do love the fact that this movie, and you could have did it go ongoing, where this movie didn't have just one bad guy, right? It wasn't just one
Mm-hmm.
central focus. It was, you had the Nazis trying to get it. This arc, you had his character, the bad guy with the money, also trying to do it. So you had these different, like, just
An
ways
evil
to
monkey.
interweave all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that about the film. Like I said, there's a lot to enjoy about this film, but it's just old school fun.
Yeah.
Like, turn it on, like, and it's one of those movies to me. It reminds me a little bit about Solo, and I know some people don't like that film, but I actually like it. But like the
Mm-hmm.
same way with Solo, where I could throw that movie on in the background and be doing something right. But
Sure.
then, even though I'm not watching the movie super intently every second because I've already seen it a few times, like there is still times where whatever I'm doing, I get sidetracked and find myself looking at the screen because it's like a fun moment or it's a fun point in the movie, and it's
They're
fun to
similar
watch.
characters.
Yeah,
Indiana Jones and Han Solo, like they're so similar. They're played by the same guy, at least for a few of the movies. Yeah, it's just it's an adventure. It's an adventure story, and they're fun. They're not going after any kind of agenda or anything like that. It's just like, here's the guy. There's some problems. We got the worst enemies in the world that we can throw at him. Guess what? A bunch of them are going to get killed. Everyone should have a good time, and everybody does. I don't know
yeah,
anybody who doesn't like Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know, those kind of
yeah.
people
I don't know of
just
anybody
throw
that
them in
says
prison.
they. You know what? I don't know of anybody out there that'll admit it. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? If they want to try to come in here, like, you want to come up in the comments, come up in the comments. Go down there, get your fingers ready, type your
Ooh,
little "I don't like Raiders of the Lost Ark" bull crap in the comments if you want. Go ahead, do it, and I'll
unbelievable.
respond. I'll respond. But I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think anybody ever is going to be putting a negative comment about Raiders of the Lost Ark.
No,
One of the greatest action films of all time. To some people, it might be their favorite, but it's definitely probably in most people's top 10 if you really look at it. Just from the years down, obviously you're going to have like Die Hard up there is probably a lot of people's favorites and stuff. But Raiders of the Lost Ark ranks up there. But I'm going to be honest with you. The crazy part about that is we're going to be doing this road to Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. This is not my favorite Indiana Jones movie.
Ooh, very good. All right, that's nice. Okay, I think I know which one. I'm pretty sure which one it would have to be, but we'll get to it when we get to it. I'm guessing.
Well, I mean, I go ahead and tell it right now
Oh boy,
if I'm not mistaken, unless I'm wrong, because I don't think about it as much as I do Star Wars, but it may be the next one that has to be reviewed.
Wow,
because my favorite is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Oh my goodness gracious! No, not the one I was thinking of at all.
What'd you think it was?
Crystal Skull. Just kidding.
Oh shit, right. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, man, is coming up, and I'm excited for it because, like, I think that's, to me, even better. It's one of those rare moments where, like, the sequel actually turns out to be better than the original, even though the original is still good. It's not because the original sucked, and then they made a second movie that was better or any of that. It was the original movie was super great, started a franchise. The second movie even done better. Look at Star Wars. We've talked about it a lot, but there's similarities, obviously, in these two things. There's a lot of the same people that worked on these movies. But you had A New Hope, and a lot of people will say the sequel, Empire Strikes Back, is actually better than the original as a movie. So that's one of the things I think we're going to cut into with this. You know, not all the time nowadays do you get a sequel that's just as good or better than the first.
I'm surprised by that. Yeah, Temple of Doom wasn't my. I wouldn't have put it in my top. Two of the movies coming up, but yeah, it'll be fascinating to talk about it when we get to it on our.
I love the Temple of Doom, man. It's fun. It's got a Temple of Doom.
It really hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid about the games.
Temple of Doom isn't Temple of Doom, if I'm not mistaken, have the young Asian kid that actually won an Oscar for like the first time this year?
Short Round.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And didn't Harrison Ford give him the Oscar or something? Or when
he did something.
Picture?
He did. He showed up on stage.
For the best picture or whatever. And yeah, they had that moment of.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool moment and stuff like that. Yeah. But with that being said, man, it looks like we talked about Laters of the Lost Ark. Hell, we getting past 30 minutes. Me and Snark talking about good stuff sometimes run a little longer than we want to. But any last words, Snark, before we head out?
Honestly, we could have talked about this movie for as long as the movie ran. Like, we could have talked about it for 2 hours easy. Like, I think we barely skimmed the surface of Raiders of the Lost Ark, but that's just how good it is. So many iconic scenes. Like, we barely did we even mention them fighting in the streets in Africa? The guy with the sword going crazy and Indy pulling out the gun to shoot him.
Pulls out a gun and shoots him. Another iconic scene thing that's talked about forever. I think it was like really hot that day and stuff, and like Indiana Jones kind of did it almost as a joke.
It was improvised.
Like, improvised and
everybody on set had food poisoning except Steven Spielberg, because all he would eat, he brought a whole bunch of SpaghettiOs over to Tunisia with him. Everybody else got food poisoning, including Harrison Ford. So they tried the stunt twice to where he would get the sword out of the guy's hand. And he said, "Why don't I just shoot him after 2 or whatever?" He said, "Okay, let's try that." And that's the shot. Boom.
Yep, and it fits the story because it's like funny. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that's who Indiana Jones is. Yeah, perfect, great. No, not messing around. Awesome. Yeah, great. So we didn't even mention that. We didn't mention we didn't mention about him sliding or going underneath the truck and then, getting dragged behind the truck and then climbing back in, punching that guy in the face. The one guy smiling beside him, punching him off a cliff. Oh yeah, there's just so much. There's so much happening in this movie all the time, and even the slow spots are so good. Like when him and Marion are in the boat or whatever, and he says, "Well, where doesn't it hurt?" And he goes here, and she kisses him there, and then he does this thing or whatever here or whatever, and they make a and then passes out, and then proceeds to pass out afterwards.
Look, man, that's a gentleman way to do things right there. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a cool, creative way to get yourself a kiss. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Harrison Ford. I appreciate it, Indiana Jones. I love Indiana Jones. I love the old school movies. Crystal Skull, you know what? That can go in the crapper.
Oh my goodness.
And hopefully, I'm trying to put as much positivity out there. I want this movie. I want this new Indiana Jones to be good too.
Sine wave. Yes.
I am getting scared though. I'm getting a little worried. I'm getting scared. It doesn't look good. And like I said, it's because like this isn't the only movie that has done it, but it's because some of the rumblings that I'm hearing is you have Indiana Jones, which is this character that's been iconic for years, and you know, then you have this new character, and it doesn't even matter necessarily that it's a female, but this one just happens to be female. So then you also get like the other people trying to get mad because it's supposed to be woke, but you have this female character come in that's supposed to be badass and makes Harrison Ford not look as badass as he used to, basically to get her over. And now that's some of the problems that people are having, stuff like that. And man, it sucks. Just tell a story where both characters can be just badass. Who cares? Man, woman, child, alien,
wow,
race, or creed. It doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter. Because I'm going to tell you right now, people that don't like, let's say the movie is a bomb, like it's not good, the new one. Let's say that happens, and you say you dislike the movie. There's going to be some people that throw accusations at you. Oh, you just don't like it because like there's a new female lead and taking over for Indiana Jones and everything else, right? It's going to be like, oh, you're a misogynist or something like that. I'm sorry. There's plenty of times like this movie right here where you have a strong I would call her a co-lead in this movie. Like, of course, it's called Indiana Jones, and it starts out with Indiana Jones. But as soon as she gets put into the movie, to me, she's like a co-lead in this movie and a badass character in this film. And I just want that. It doesn't happen like that all the time. It's not just because somebody doesn't like anything doesn't mean they're trying to do anything or have some kind of agenda or whatever. Let people like what they like and don't like what they don't like and everything else. It's like, let's just do the thing, have a good story, tell a great story, and let's just do good characters, man. They're just, like you said, I think a lot of it happens to be lazy writing. It's like, if we want this person to look super good and super great, we got to make the person next to them not look as good, because that's the easy way. That's the easy way to make a character or someone look super great and look super good. And that's the easy. It's the lazy way too.
It is 100%.
We got to stop that. We got to stop doing it. Stop doing it. Oh, I was going to say, like, but with that being said, with the prejudice and stuff like that, I was sorry, I got sidetracked for a second. But I was just going to say the last little bit is you look at, and this one has to do with race. So you look at Rocky series. Rocky, like 1 through 5, whatever, right? It was a male white guy, big character, action, the boxing and everything else. And then we had Creed, where the main character was of a different race that took over basically Rocky's spot in this series and this franchise. And we've had 3 great movies because of it, and nobody complains. You want to know why? Because it's freaking awesome. It is awesome. All 3 Creed movies are good, right? You could almost put them up there, and maybe some people do, and I wouldn't be mad at them. But you could put the 3 Creed movies up against the first 3 Rocky movies, and if you said you like the Creed ones a little bit better, I would not argue with you. But that's the thing. You make good characters, you make good movies, and you put them out there. It doesn't matter who they are or what they look like. It's like, boom, they're great and they're good, and everybody has a great time with them. And all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Nick Fury in the comic books is supposed to be a white guy, but it's Samuel L. Jackson playing him, and nobody complains. Why? Because Samuel L. Jackson's a badass. He's a good actor, and he plays the role good. And especially at the first part of MCU, the movies were good. Nobody's going to complain when the stuff's good. Like, just make good shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I went off on a tangent, man.
That's fine.
I'm just tired of everybody yelling at each other and calling people names and stuff over stuff they either don't like or whatever, bro. Like, everybody likes something different. Everybody wants something different. And that's what makes the world great, because we're all different. We're all different. If we was all the same, you know, if everybody was as sexy as I was, and nobody would be sexy. Nobody would be sexy. You know what I'm saying?
I get it.
Like, because everybody would be sexy, nobody would be sexy. And with that said, until next time, stay sexy.